Peace. What's going on, y'all? I wanted to build with y'all real briefly. I'm not trying to get real deep and stuff with y'all, but I wanted to build with you real briefly on programming. Every time you watch a television program, a movie, even music, it's all dealing with a program. That's why they call it back to your regular scheduled program. So anytime that you're watching something, it's going to affect you whether you know it or not, in your conscious mind and in your subconscious mind. Now, the reason why I'm talking about all this, because many people always ask me about mind control. Is mind control possible? Does the government have mind control over people? MK Ultra, if you ever heard of what MK Ultra is, look it up. So I want you to start paying attention to the things you watch, to the commercials, to everything from this point on, because everything has an effect on you whether you know it or not. And I did an old video where I was talking about how every time you go into the movies, they hypnotize you. They turn the lights out. It's almost like you closing your eyes. They put you in that subconscious state and they make you focus on this big screen image, surround sounds around you. Almost like you're living or you're in the movie yourself. That's how they want you to feel. They want you to use your imagination and get fully involved in whatever programming you're dealing with. So, the reason why I'm bringing all this up, talking about mind control and programming, I want y'all to remember, it's January 20th, 2020 today. It's Martin Luther King Day. A lot of people was out of work today. But what I want you to pay attention to, think about this. What movie on Netflix was very popular this time last year, around January 2019? Think real fast. Do you remember? It was that Bird Box. I think it was called Birdcage. Remember with the chick, she put the blindfold, and anybody who looked outside at the sun, they turned into some zombie flesh-eating type of creature, and she had to take her kids down a river. Remember that? Everybody was talking about this movie on social media. Programming, y'all. So now this year, they have a new movie, January, that everybody's talking about on social media. Saving Grace. Everybody's commenting. Everybody is so captivated and into this movie that it makes them want to comment about it on social media. There's nothing wrong with that. Because if you choose to watch something, remember I told you, anytime you turn on the TV, remember I told you, TV has programming, and programming, they can put you in a trance-like state because you're relaxed while you being downloaded certain forms of information through commercials, advertisement, marketing, whatever soever. So it's the same with this movie and with any movie. So Netflix had a movie last year that captivated made everybody talk about this Birdcage movie. Now I want you to think about all the popular events, I would say. All the events that people talked about all last year. From the chicken sandwich, Nipsey Hussle dying, from the pastor, from you name it. You name something that people was talking about. And the reason why I'm talking about all this, because it's all about distractions. They're always trying to distract you, because if I could distract you and get you to think about what I want you to think about, then you have no time to think about yourself and what you need to think about. So always pay attention from this point on to what's being fed in your brain. Because like I said, the conscious mind is going to see it one way. You're going to be consciously watching a movie. You're going to see certain things. You know that it's just a movie, but you're into the movie, or maybe you like it, you don't like it. But your conscious mind is going to process it one way. But your subconscious mind is going to process the movie a totally different way. Because remember when I say, when you're watching a movie and you see somebody get shot, for say, in the subconscious mind is going to see it as being real. The conscious mind it's just a movie. It's just, you think it's just a regular program, just something you watch. But the subconscious mind is what has an effect over the way you think, over the way you feel, and how you behave. Your subconscious mind is where your habits from. And I'm saying all this to say this. There's always been, whether you agree it or not, there's always been a specific way that black people are portrayed in television, in movies, even in music. There's always, from the 70s, the pimps, the hoes, the drug pushers, the drug abusers. You know, those are common roles for black actors and actresses. Those are just common roles. You never see, let's say, any positions of, very rarely do you see positions of people in positions of power on any form of programming, no matter what it is. Remember, in horror movies, who's the first people to die? We usually are. In history movies, biblical movies, when they show Egypt, even though Egypt is in Africa, there's no black people around. They quickly show you. Notice how they always show you those slave movies. Notice how the slaves are never fighting back. It's a show that a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people caught on to a couple years ago, called The Underground. Look up The Underground. A lot of people's like, well, I'm tired of watching slave movies. I'm tired of seeing that same narrative. I feel you. But watch The Underground. Because it's the reason why they took The Underground off of television. Because it showed them fighting back. Because they're quick to tell you that we were slaves, but they never tell you about all the riots, all the people that was actually trying to free themselves, all the fighting and all the wars that went on between the two sides during slave times. So when you see information like that visually on a screen, your subconscious mind programs itself to think what it's seeing is real. So when you see, Charlton Heston back in the day, and he's Moses, and he puts the staff down and the Red Sea parts, and then all the soldiers, get caught up in the Red Sea, and you believe that. Just like you believe wrestling. Just like one of the first things that turned me on to knowledge itself, you know what, y'all, one of the first things as a child I learned this, was Santa Claus. When you a child, up into a certain age, everyone tells you, especially if you come from certain backgrounds, that Santa Claus was real. Once I found out, I can't remember what age it was, that Santa Claus wasn't real. Now, mind you, on TV back in the day, they even used to have Christmas Eve, they used to have a radar showing where Santa Claus was. So your family lied to you, the people in church lied to you, everybody was, and they don't call it lying. It was like, no, once you get older, you learn about Santa Claus. But they was lying to you. The whole time as a child, you thought that was real. Once they told me that Santa Claus wasn't real, and I was like, well, what else isn't real? And then once I found out that wrestling wasn't real when I was young, well, what else are you lying to me about? Start paying attention to the things that you are watching in the forms of programs. Because remember what I said in a past video. They use silent weapons for quiet wars. The war is over your perception, how you see yourself. Because if I can make you see yourself weak, then you won't be strong. Now the thing about Saving Grace. Now if you watch the movie, you might want to stop looking at me right now, because I'm about to talk about the movie on Netflix. Come back, watch it, after you've seen it for yourself, if you don't want me to spoil it. But I'm about to talk about certain things about the movie and the person who made the movie. Now, mind you, back to what I was saying. They never show us with positions of power. They never show us in Egypt, Mesopotamia. They never show black people in any forms of rulership. I even heard they was doing a movie on Mansa Musa, who was the richest person in history, who was a black man, but they're going to make Mansa Musa white, I heard. I didn't make this up. Even the show The Watchmen on HBO, if you ever watched that show, I was able to check out that whole series. Oh, they're telling you something in The Watchmen. Even though it's based on a comic book, notice how they always try to teach you stuff like Black Panther and certain things through comic books because they never want you to think it's real. But The Watchmen was telling you about Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where a whole bunch of black people were massacred. Because remember, back in those times, like around 1914 or 1920s, during that time, before integration, black people had a lot of black-owned towns, black-owned businesses. All that was destroyed. But this is a totally different story. But The Watchmen gives you a glimpse of that because they base it on the Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street race riots. And you can look that up. See, one thing about the information age, anything I say, just look it up. So, saving grace. So this morning, you know, it's cold. North Carolina has funny weather. 1 minute is 60, 70 degrees. The next minute, 40, 30 degrees. This morning it was 20 degrees. So it's cold, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, you know, people off work today, I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to watch something on Netflix before I get out the bed and get my day really started, right? So I see a show, you know, Saving Grace. I see some familiar faces. I said, okay, I'm going to check this one out because I didn't want to watch the Hernandez thing. I seen people in my barbershop, they was watching it. It didn't look that interesting to me anyway, and I seen people talking about it on the internet, so I heard all I wanted to hear about that, right? So I'm watching Saving Grace, and as it's coming on, I notice it's a Tyler Perry flick. And I was about to turn it off, and I ain't front no Tyler Perry, but I'll be like, if it's Medea in it, I'm not watching it. I'm tired of Medea, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, watching the movie, and the movie, I can say it brings you in. Brings you in. It starts off kind of slow, but it brings you in because you start to wonder what's up with this character and you know, why are they doing the things that they're doing? You know, you're getting involved in the film. You know, remember I said hypnosis is when you're totally focused on one thing without any distractions from external stimuli bothering you. You just totally focus on one given thing. So as I'm watching the program or whatever, it was pretty good. Pretty good. My first reaction is pretty good. You know, suspenseful. You know, certain twists and turns happen that you wasn't expecting, I would say. But this is what I'm going to say about the movie. Because later on, a couple hours later, at first I was like, that was good. That was a good movie. You know, that was exciting or whatever. But then a couple hours later, my conscious mind kicked in because I was relaxed, laying in the bed, subconscious mind working, you know, just watching some program, watching a film. But once I got into my critical factor, remember the conscious mind deals with being critical, analyzing things. Once I started thinking about what I just viewed and what I just let enter my subconscious mind, I started to notice, let's say, certain things in each of the characters. Now, one thing I'm going to say about Tyler Perry is he's hiring actors black actors especially, that probably Hollywood wouldn't even hire anymore. He's giving them a way to have a job. So I'm not mad at that. But the way we've always been portrayed in Hollywood as black people has always been negative. And it's affected us in negative ways, whether we know it or not. So Tyler Perry, I heard one of the biggest studios now in Atlanta, has himself in the position where he could change the narrative and the way we view ourselves and the way we are viewed around the world. Because if you've never met a black person and the only thing you saw was New Jack City, Menace to Society, and OG Bobby Johnson or something, some of those old movies, then you're going to think every black person is like that. You yourself as a black person are going to think that there's mostly black people that are like that are portrayed in those movies and the characters and how they are. So Tyler Perry has a chance to change that narrative, but is he going to do it? Is he going to do a? Is he Is he going to do a movie where it's going to show black positions in high places of power? Now, he's shown movies like that, but most of the time, they don't have a strong character trait, meaning they show a lot of weaknesses. And I want you to notice the people that are weak and are strong in all his films. I want you to notice the character that he usually plays in all his films. I'm not going to even say nothing. Just analyze it yourself. And it's not a thing whether I like the person or don't like the person. It's what is this program instilling or putting into my mind? Because everything around you affects you in some form or fashion, whether you know it or not. So, in the movie, it shows things like human trafficking. It shows some white-collar crime. It shows a desperate, vulnerable, older black woman. It shows, and I don't know what's up with dude haircut, but it shows a con artist type of character, swindler type of character. All the villains in most of his films, and like I said, he's giving black people jobs, so it's a pro and a con to it. But there's always a way that it's going to affect your subconscious mind. So there's a pro and a con to, okay, there's black actors getting a job, so they play the villain in his movies. But usually, Hollywood always either portrays us as the villain or the drug abuser or, in a negative way, stereotypical way. So now he has the chance to change those stereotypes. Is he changing those stereotypes? Is he creating more stereotypes? Think about it. Think about it. Because if you watch some of his films, you would think we're the ones that's causing all the trouble out here. We're the racists. We're the sexists. Watch his films. Watch some of his characters, even the ones that he plays. Medea as well. So, just start analyzing everything that you watch. Even if it's sports. Even if it's whatever you choose to watch or listen to. Even in rap songs. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If I say over and something, remember to program the subconscious mind, you got to be repetitive and say something over and over again. And then it's going to sink deep into your mind. And then it's going to have an effect over you. So, if you listen to a song, and they call them hooks for a reason because it hooks you in. Because the hook is the first thing you're going to remember because they say the hook at least 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 sets in a song. So if you hear a song that's always talking about shooting, robbing, stabbing black people against other black people, what's going to go in your mind? How are you going to start behave? Your conscious mind might know that it's fake, but your subconscious mind knows it's real. So, I'm going to end it on this. Pay attention to everything that you download and put into your subconscious mind. Because not only will it affect you, it will affect nations to come. Because remember I told you about something called epigenetics, where trauma, feelings of pain and pleasure can be passed on through your DNA. That's a whole nother subject. But pay attention to what you download into your subconscious mind. Peace.